Yeah. So when the two lines are crossed by a third line, this third line is called the transversal. Trans just means across, like transatlantic flight means a flight across the Atlantic. So transversal is a line that crosses the two other lines. Usually these two lines are parallel. So how many angles were created when I did that?
8.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 angles are created. So notice they're kind of in two groups, the angles on top and the angles on the bottom. What do we know about angle 1 and angle 2?
They
make 180. What did we call them? Well, supplementary means linear pair. Yeah, linear pairs add up to 180, or they're supplementary. So that's true of 1 and 2. What's true of 2 and 4? Same thing, linear pair. 2 and 4. 4 and 3? Same. 3 and 1? Same. Okay, how about 1 and so all these pairs, 4 and 3, 3 and 1, add up to 180. What about 1 and 4? They're vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? They're congruent. That's a theorem, by the way. The fact that 1 and 4 are vertical angles is the definition. The fact that they add up, or they're congruent to each other, is a theorem that it can be proven. Anyway, that was part of number 16 that I took off. Actually, it was kind of also, it was like the second to last question in the proof. It was supposed to be vertical. How do we know these are congruent? Like from the picture? Some of you said definition of congruent angles or something. Well, that's not how we know they're congruent. We know they're congruent because 1 and 3 are vertical angles. Anyway, a lot of you missed that. Okay. Why is this happening? I don't know. There we go. 1 and 4 are vertical, 2 and 3 are vertical. Now, if these lines are parallel, guess what we know about some of these other angles? Which angles do you think are congruent? 1 and 5. Okay, why did you say that? Because they look congruent? Yeah, basically. Okay, this is called, these are called corresponding angles. 1 is upper left corner, 5 is upper left corner. If the lines are parallel, corresponding angles are congruent. That is a postulate. You guys remember what a postulate meant? It means something that seems obvious, so we just assume it's true. So corresponding angles are congruent. If the lines are parallel, if the lines are going at the same direction and you cross them with a third line, then those angles, the matching angles they create are going to be congruent. So 1 and 5 are congruent. What are the other corresponding angles? 8 and 4, 2 and 6, 3 and 7. You guys said them all, yeah. So you could say like angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. And if this was a line in the proof, the reason would be corresponding angles are congruent. Probably we'll start saying just corresponding angles and won't say are congruent. They probably call this a corresponding angle postulate or something like that. But you don't need to know the postulate or the name of it. You can just say corresponding angles are congruent or corresponding angles. All right. That's the only postulate that goes with this section. The next one is, let's see. So we just said 1 and 5 are congruent, right? How are 1 and 3 related? They're a linear pair, so they're supplementary. How are 5 and 6 related? They're supplementary. So what should be true about 3 and 6?
They supplement.
3 is supplementary to 1, 6 is supplementary to 5. If 1 and 5 are the same, 3 and 6 are the same. Okay, so what we did there was a little proof. I didn't write it all out, but to say that alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, what do they mean, alternate interior angles? Okay, because we showed it with a proof, that means this is actually a theorem, not a postulate, because we proved it. Alternate interior angles are congruent. What does alternate mean? Let's start with that word.
Switching?
Yes, switching. Alternate, like alternate, switch. What are they switching? They're switching sides of the transversal. 3 and 6 are on opposite sides of the transversal. Interior means they're inside the parallel lines. So they're on alternate sides of the transversal, but they're inside the parallel lines. Alternate interior angles are congruent. You can kind of tell they're congruent, right? Like this looks like an acute angle, and this looks acute, looks the same. But yeah, that's a theorem that we know now. I kind of forgot. What if the lines were not parallel? Would they still be congruent? So if we have these two lines, like these are the corresponding angles, right? Are they still congruent? No. This looks like 90, this looks like 120 or something, 110 maybe. So no, this stuff only works if the lines are parallel. All right. So I could have written it, corresponding angles are congruent if the lines are parallel. That would have been the whole thing. Forgetting something else. What am I forgetting? I don't know. Hopefully it was not important. Another thing is, let's see, can we zoom out? Okay, we know 1 and 5 are the same, right?
Yeah.
What do I know about 1 and 3? Supplementary. So if 1 and 3 are supplementary and 5 is the same thing as 1, then 5 and 3 are supplementary. All right, they call this pair,
Corresponding?
no, corresponding was like 1 and 5. Corresponding means they're like twins. See how they're both in the upper left corner, 1 and 5, 3 and 7 are both in the bottom left. Our book calls them consecutive interior angles, I believe, but the worksheet that we're doing today calls them same side interior.
Is the
That makes more sense.
supposed to be
Oh, yeah.
PG?
Yes.
Is it because you don't want to create a new one or start a new one?
I thought the book assignment was too hard for starters, so I moved it to tomorrow.
Okay.
But aren't we still starting?
We're starting on the worksheet today. So this paper calls it same side interior, which I think is much better than consecutive.
See, that makes more sense. 'Cause
Interior.
It is the same side interior.
Shelby, how did you know it was consecutive? You find it in your book. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure how many books use that term, maybe just this one. But you see how they're on the same side?
Yeah.
And they're interior because they're inside of the parallel lines again. Same side or consecutive interiors are supplementary. And I kind of did a little verbal proof with that too. So this is a theorem also. They add up to 180. You see how angle 3 and angle 5 do not look the same?
Yeah.
Like this is acute, this is obtuse. They're not congruent, but they are supplementary. Okay. These are kind of the main three. The other one that gets added on is alternate exterior angles. Can anybody guess a pair of alternate exterior angles?
1 and 8.
1 and 8. Alternate sides of the transversal, but exterior to the parallel lines, 1 and 8. What do you think? Are those congruent or supplementary or what? 1 is the same thing as 5, right? Because they're corresponding angles. 5 is congruent to 8 because they are vertical angles. Therefore, 1 is congruent to 8 by what property? Transitive. So that's the proof for alternate exterior angles are congruent. So 1 and 8 are alternate, 2 and 7 are alternate exterior. They're congruent also. Okay. I'm not going to write that one down, but yeah, alternate exterior are congruent also. The only ones that were supplementary were the same side interior, 4, 3, and 5, 4, and 6. I didn't point out alternate interior angles are 3 and 6 or 4 and 5. Let me do a really quick thing. Let's look at this. Let's say this angle right here was 110. What would this angle right here have to be?
No,
70.
77?
Because they have to add up to 180. What does this angle right here have to be?
110. 70.
Okay. So they're all either congruent to each other or supplementary to each other. How about this angle right here? 110. Now this is assuming the lines are parallel, right? So I'll put a little parallel on. About this one? Okay, so they're all the same as each other or supplementary to each other. There's like only 2 options. Okay, now we will start the worksheet.
Wait, if I get an error, can I like somehow in science like recreate them? I don't get it.
You have your phone and your
Us being guys.
I'm gonna put the hair on it.
In this class, we are the minority.
Oh yeah, that's it. True.
Actually, in the world, you can remember too.
Barely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
And guess what?
Oh, I didn't say
Guess
it. Slide with us, man.
what, kid?
Which is weird.
In this school, guess what? We're the minority.
Great.
Dr.
Great, guess what?
She what?
It's your
Yes.
I can't. It's your birthday. What?
Don't tell me. Do not tell me. I'm still waiting for you to comment, by the way. I just tried to
This is two. It's Grant's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Grant.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grant.
Happy birthday to you. You guys are flying.
What are you singing with the camera on? I'm gonna watch the video. No, I'm gonna watch the video.
Guys, like and subscribe.
Okay, yeah. Grant didn't want us to call him out, but
Wait, Eli, did you
he wrote
finally
that
sing?
one. So obviously, number 1, identify each pair of angles as corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, same side interior, vertical, or linear pair. So many options. Does everybody have it? Okay, so Y and X, what did we say those two were? Corresponding. They are basically twins. They are both in the upper left corner of their group. Number 3. If you don't know how to spell corresponding, it's in the directions. Number 3. What do we know about Y and X? What are those called? Y and X?
Linear.
Linear pair, because together they make a line, a straight angle. So linear pair. Number 5, this is the one I mentioned but I didn't write down. Alternate exterior angles. Okay, on number 7, what do we know about those question mark and 53?
They're supplementary.
Supplementaries. So So how do we find the question mark?
We used to 180.
180 minus 53. Okay, number 9. This one might catch us. I don't know. What do we know about those two angles? Yeah, do you remember what they were called? Same side interior, or our book calls them consecutive interior. Did it say consecutive or consecutive interior?
Same side.
On here?
No, in our book.
Oh, it says consecutive.
It doesn't say consecutive interior.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, those two, when it looks like that, they have to add up to 180. If you look carefully, they do not look identical. They look different. So what's the question mark have to be on that one? 80. Okay, number 11. What did we say those two angles were called?
Same alternate same side interior.
Alternate interior. And what do we know about alternate interior?
They're same.
They're the same.
So it'd be 86 degrees.
Number 13, what are those angles called? Same side interior, and what do we know about those two? They add up to 180, they're supplementary. So 180 minus 122 is 58. 58 degrees. Number 15. Did you guys notice that on all these they put the little double arrows on those two lines?
Parallel.
Supposed to, yeah. Because we only know this, a lot of this stuff, if the lines are parallel. Alright, what do we know about 15? Those two angles are called what?
Supplementary.
L,
Another word.
linear pair. So they have to add up to 180.
This would be 116.
You like that?
Okay, on 17, what are those two angles called?
Those.
Corresponding, yes. And they are the same. Okay, only linear pairs and same side interior are supplementary. All the others are congruent. Number 19, what do I know about those two angles? We gotta solve for x now. Yeah.
They're like corresponding.
They're the same. So 6x plus 13 equals 85.
But then we have to do
Solve for x, the mission.
Let's go. So do we subtract 13?
Bro.
Oh boy. All right. Number 21. All right. What do we know about those two angles on 21 and 22, I guess?
They're the same
Supplementary, which means what?
Equal 1
They add up to 180. So, there was one of these on the test, by the way. Some of you did not make them add up to 180. Well, it didn't look like this. It looked like a linear. On the test, it was a linear pair. Like that picture. You should have said not equal to each other. They're No. It wasn't a linear pair. It was this. They add up to 90. Those two add up to 90. Anyways. These two add together. X is not an angle. It's okay that it's negative.
Yep.
there kind of is such a thing as a negative angle or a negative rotation angle thing, but that's not in this class. All right, 23, find the measure of each line. So, you guys know what a parallelogram is?
Parallel.
Yeah.
It's like a type of shape with parallel lines.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sides of a so quadrilateral with opposite sides parallel. I didn't draw it very well, but it's close enough. So it turns out, and this is where things get tricky, when you draw these extra lines, like this line's parallel to that line. So if I extended these lines, you guys see the parallel lines and the transversal?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I know about these two angles in a parallelogram?
They're corresponding.
They're not corresponding. Huh?
Supplementary?
Yeah, they're same side interior. You guys see it? Now, so what do I know about these two angles? A equal 180. That's one of the things we're going to learn about parallelograms. It's kind of hard to see it though because it doesn't look the same as this picture, right? But these two angles are the same as these two angles. You guys get it? So my point is, when you draw extra lines, sometimes it gets confusing. They drew an extra line on 23. But how are those two angles related to each other on 23? They're corresponding angles. You kind of ignore that extra line they drew going up to nowhere. Yeah, those two angles are corresponding angles, so they are the same. On 24, I didn't really mention this, but it's kind of obvious. If you have three parallel lines, all those corresponding angles would be the same. Doesn't really matter. Okay, 25. What kind of angles are those?
Alternate side interior.
Alternate interior. And alternate interior angles are
Corresponding. Oh, sorry.
congruent.
Yeah.
They are the same. 27, what kind of angles are those? Alternate exterior. And alternate exterior angles are
Different.
congruent. The only ones that are supplementary are same side interior and linear pairs.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
29, what are those two angles called?
Linear.
Vertical. Second to last question on the test. So they are the same.
These are so.
31, what kind of angles are those?
They're
Alternate interior, and they are
same.
the same. So x plus 104,
It'd be like
whoops,
-10.
equals 94.
Who's that?
Your mom. Oh, I tried to do it, Mom. Oh my gosh, look at that body. Isa.
It's red.
I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't.
It's his birthday, and you're gonna be like,
Your mother.
Throwing hair.
No, I'm keeping throwing
Did you guys do it okay?
All right, that's your worksheet right there, you said. Last one. 11. What are those two angles called? What kind of angles are those? Vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? They're equal. It's not all review, he says some. there's more than vertical angles on this. Okay, I can't remember if it was this class or the other class, but some of us made some algebra errors on the test on this part. Yeah, to get rid of the x's on one side, you need to subtract 11x. You have to do the opposite.
Which number is this?
It's the last point, or last 33. Now what? Minus 12.
Stands for TC vote.
No, it stands for Little Sapling.
It stands for what?